Hello, and welcome to the Live Past Crazy Show. Your host is Yanmitra Jojo Waddell, the only Live Past Crazy specialist. So what better place to be than here with her? Yanmitra appreciates you taking the time out to listen to the podcast, and it is her sincere hope that what we share is something that you can use to help you and someone you know live past crazy.
Get this link up so that I can do what I'm doing. Oh, maybe now I can see. Oh, my connection was slow. Welcome to the Fearless Morning Show, where we're having confessions and conversations about your everyday life. My name is Yanmitra Jojo Waddell, the only Live Past Crazy specialist. So what better place to be than here with me? Now I see I'm up and moving. It wasn't moving there for a second. Good morning, Miss Cree. How you doing? Miss Valerie, I was thinking about you. Cree and Miss Valerie, y'all will be getting emails this week for another Purpose Partner call. So we can get started. Hope you guys are ready to get this Monday started. So let's go right into it. Let's go for the quote of the day. When you focus on mastering your mind, your perceptions, and your perspective, you discover different paths in the landscape of your possibilities. And that's by Kristen Andrus. When you focus on mastering your mind, perception, and perspective, you discover different paths in the landscape of your possibilities. In plain people terms, or without the big words, when you change what you think or what you focus on, and you start to, every time a negative thought comes and you decide that you're going to overpower it with a positive thought, when you start doing that, your perspective change, your perceptions change, and you see more opportunities where before you saw none. That's all that means. When you focus on mastering your mind, your perceptions, and your perspective, you discover different paths in the landscape of your possibilities. And your possibilities, my sister, are endless. That I can guarantee you. The only reason why you don't see that they're endless is because your mind is focused on other things. Your mind is focused on your lack and not your more. And so that makes it hard. The speed of change depends on how much you live in a state of curiosity instead of a state of certainty. The speed of change depends on how much you live in a state of curiosity instead of a state of certainty. And that's by Dr. Maria Reynolds. She's a PhD. So that simply means you can change as fast as you want, as long as you stay curious about the thing. But if you are certain it's never going to change, then my sister, your mindset will never change. Your focus will never change, and you will have the same thing. So that's what we're going to do. And those are the quotes of the day. Thought of the day: determine why you are living off target. So I'm reading a new book. It's called Leading Women. 20 influential women share their secrets to leadership, business, and life. I actually got this book. I don't know if y'all know who, what's her name? Allison Bird. So if you're anywhere in the marketing, self-help area, she had a conference in 2018 that I went to, and it's called Leading Women. No, that wasn't the name of the conference, but she gave away this free book, Leading Women, 20 influential women share their secrets. And I had it on my desk at work, and somebody asked to borrow it. Can I read it? I was like, sure. And I didn't get it back until Wednesday of this week. I forgot I even owned the book. I forgot the book even existed, but I love the book. So one of the things I came close to, and she just moved from Austin to California. Yes, she lived in the Austin area. She's a very in-your-face kind of person, but she's good. And so one of the things I was reading in this, what chapter is this? Why women how women can hit the bullseye with courage every time. And one of the things is your bullseye strategy is determine why you're living off target. And sometimes, you know how you be having thoughts yourself and you can't necessarily put them into words. And this is one of those things where I try to communicate, but sometimes other people say it just so much better than I do. Why are we living off target? And that was something I had to think about this weekend. And so one of the things when you're on this journey as you're growing and you realize that you are living off target, like I ain't living up to my full potential. JoJo's not. And I'm not living up to my full potential simply because, I didn't want to do the work on some things. I just didn't want to do it. And not only that I didn't want to do it, I just didn't want to take the responsibility of doing it because, if you can complain, why do it? Because some people complain. But when I realized I was off target, this is what I do. And so far it has worked. You've got to keep trying to hit the target. At first you got to acknowledge, hey, this is not the outcome that I want. This is not the thing that I wanted to achieve, or this is not the end result. And every day you've got to get up and hit that wall of resistance every day. Because if, our destiny's not changing, we still have those bumps in the road, but this is not changing. So if your destiny is, my daughter loves to cook, to be a chef, to be a lawyer, to be whatever she wants to be, she's still going to hit those bumps in the road. You got to keep hitting that wall of resistance. And when you hit that wall of resistance, this is where the quote of the day becomes important. When you focus on mastering your mind, your perceptions, your perspective, you discover different paths and the landscape of your possibilities. The more I realized that I was off target. And I realized that if I focused on, I'm not on target, and all I stayed in was a state of complaining that I'm not where I want to be instead of doing something about it, my perception and my perspective never changed, right? It intensified, and then here came Negative Nelly and Debbie Downer and Pity Party Patty to hang out with me. And sometimes those people are your family and your friends. Judge, I told you not to try to open up that bookstore. I'm going to open up that bookstore. I ain't forgot that. I'm not going to forget because it's going to happen. That's why I have the book club, Sisters Keepers book club. I posted the link. Judge, I told you it wasn't going to happen. Have your family ever told you that? I don't know why you even bothering yourself with that. I don't know why you even doing. I told you it wasn't going to work. And you start to focus your mind on what they said. And that's why you're off target. And then noticing that we're off target on some things allows us to take a step back, reassess, and think about how we're going to move forward. So I thought about that this weekend. And one of the things is I hit my stumbling block, my wall. I hit it head on. And here's the thing. if I'm going to do something, I'm going to feel all of it. So if it's going to be painful, or if I'm going to have a difficult conversation, if that means I got to cry a little bit, or I'm going to do whatever I got to do to get it out, to get over this hump. And so I also realized that as I'm hitting this, I may personally have built this wall myself. And so because I built this wall myself, I added all kind of infrastructure in here, so I can't get past it to get over here. So I'm not only fighting my old you with the new you, you're fighting your old habits with new habits. It's also your thought process. And one of the things when I hit it head on this weekend, I was like, why am I even trying? But my destiny's not changing. So when I took the focus off this here, realized ain't nothing changing here, my perception and my perspective changed, which opened up a different avenue, a path of opportunity, so that I knew how to work around a stumbling block that I assumed was going to stop me from my destiny. Sometimes, y'all, it's that simple. You got to focus your mind on something else. Meaning, if you want to stay stuck, like we talked about last week, it takes work to stay where you are. It takes work to stay broke. It takes work to be an alcoholic. It takes work to do drugs. It takes work to do whatever your vice is. It takes work. And if it's going to take the same amount of work to stay in it as it does to get out of it, then now you're at an even starting point. You get to choose which way you go. Because if it's going to be work regardless, what you're going to do. And the second quote ties into that. The speed of change depends on how much your mind stays in a state of curiosity instead of certainty. Meaning, once your mind changes and your focus changes, you have a different perspective and a perception of people, places, and things, right? Then the speed of change depends on how much you stay curious about it, or you're going to stay in the certainty of that. Good morning, Lynn. Good morning. How you doing, Lynn? So it depends on that thing. And if we know that the destiny part is not changing, and if we know that it takes the same amount of work to stay here and complain and have less than on purpose than it does to live great, and if it's going to take the same amount of work, now you have to decide what amount of work are you going to do. Determine why you are living off the target. Like, what was the main goal for you not completing the thing? If somebody sidetracked you into living off target, why was that? And then what are you going to do to get back on track with that thing? What is the one thing that you're going to do? When you focus on mastering your mind, perception, perspective, you discover different paths in the landscape of your possibilities. And I tell you, when you determine why you living off target, we got to go back to Friday, start with the reasons why we lie to ourselves, because all of that's going to be tied right in there together. When you realize that you off target, it could be because you told lies to yourself about the situation, about how it really was, and it was to make yourself feel good, to make somebody else feel better, because you didn't want to take responsibility, and you denied that it was even your responsibility to take, and you were scared. Those are the reasons why you lie to yourself, and those are the reasons why you can't focus on anything good or a different outcome. It's because you've committed to the lie that you've already told yourself, I can't do this, and you've committed to that. You've committed to saying, I can't do this. You've committed to saying it's too hard. You have committed to saying nobody understands, and you have committed to the lie that you told yourself that you're not smart enough, I don't have enough money. And if you're going to do all that work and be committed to that lie of the thing that's now defining you, and it's the same amount of work, when are you going to be committed to do the work to get you out of it? Because it takes hard work to live in less. It takes hard work not to succeed. I want you to understand. And that's about as simple as it gets. It takes hard work not to succeed. You have to try really hard not to do better, because it's at the core of who you are, and you can't say it's not. And then you can't say, well, I'm just doing this, like we talked about earlier last week. I'm going to settle for this job for my family. I'm going to settle for this place for my family. In actuality, you're not settling. You're setting your family up for failure. Because why would you settle for less than when you say you're doing it so that they can have more than? You see how they both can't go in the same sentence? You got to determine why you're living off target. And then what are you going to do about it? When you focus on mastering your mind, perception, and perspective, you discover different paths in the landscape of your possibilities. And the speed of change depends on how much you live in a state of curiosity. Meaning, if you're determined to change, and if that's your focus, to get out of that thing or to change, because if you know your destiny's not changing, you're meant to do this thing, and you start focusing on that, what comes up here, what you reach in between that doesn't matter. Right? You worked hard. You worked hard to, it takes work to stay poor. It takes work to stay in whatever crazy that you're in. But if you've decided that you're committed to that, you're the only person that's going to be able to decide not to be committed to it and to do something about it. As Grant Cardone says, it takes more work to live small than it does to live great. Meaning, he said you're doing more damage by living less than you are by living great. You're teaching your kids and your family to accept less than at all times and to never question why they can't have more. Why would you tell your kid not to question why they can't have more? Why are we teaching our children and our family? Because for a lot of us, we are the change our family wants to see. Why are we teaching them that it's okay to have less than and lack? But the first step, y'all, is you got to understand why you're off target. And are you off target because you was telling lies to yourself? We talked about it's time for action last week. You got to be stronger than your strongest excuse. And sometimes our strongest excuse is a doozy. Like, JoJo, like, for real, you don't even understand. And we don't even want to fight our own excuse. We just accept it. And hey, if you want to, here's the thing, if you want to accept that, then you can't complain. If you want to accept your excuse, and your excuses are always valid, if you want to accept that, then you can't complain about the end result that you're getting. Fear is simply a lack of action. You got to trust yourself that you're making the right decision. You got to. Because if you don't trust that you're making the right decision, and then making the right decision, and sometimes people will tell you that you're selfish when you start to make the right decision for yourself. They will tell you that you are selfish because you want to change. They will tell you you are selfish because you don't understand what they sacrificed for you, and now you want better than what they've given you. That's not being selfish at all. That's you understanding you are off the target. You missed the target. You may have let a stumbling block determine absolutely where you're going in life, and you decided to sidestep that and do something different. That's not being selfish. That's taking into account that you are now responsible for other people doing things, watching you, and that you are the one that's going to make the change for your family, and you're finally taking responsibility for that. And if you don't take responsibility of it, then you're going to join the crowd of Debbie Downer and Negative Nelly. And that's how it goes. There's no other way. There's no other way to say that. You got to trust yourself, trust your feelings, and understand that the speed of change that you want to see, all of it depends on you. If you're curious about that your destiny's not changing, this thing that you want to see, and you're committed to seeing that through, it doesn't matter the obstacles that you come up against. It doesn't matter, because your excuses are always going to be valid. Your mama's always going to complain. Your family ain't never going to have enough money. And these are the things they're going to tell you. They don't have the money. They're always going to complain. They may tell you that you can't do it. And that's, we talked about, it takes courage to, it's easy to stand in the crowd, but it takes courage to stand up, to stand alone. But if you don't stand alone for just a minute so that others can see that you're willing to accept the change, then we can't see you to help you. I can't be your sister's keeper or the only Live Past Crazy specialist if you're standing in the crowd and I don't see that you want something different. No, ma'am. But I can hold it. You can bring it here so I can hold it up. You can throw it here. Rosie in right on time with the shirt because she thought she was getting ready to wear this to school today.
Okay, you don't have to out me like that.
Self-care is gangster.
It says self-love. The shirt says self-love.
Self-love is gangster. Self-care is gangster. And if you're not willing to do the work of it, because a lot of people think that self-love, self-care it's all, we're going to get our nails done, I'm taking a day to the spa. No, self-care and self-love is you getting real with yourself because you want something different than what you see right now. And when you realize that, and you're willing to get past the lies that you told yourself, maybe perhaps the way that you've hindered yourself, the way you have set your own self up for failure, because sometimes we set our own selves up for failure. And we're off target on purpose because we got sidetracked. We looked at something else. We thought about something else. When you focus on mastering your mind, perception, and perspective, you discover different paths in the landscape of your possibilities. That simply means you see things differently. The speed of change depends on how much you live in a state of curiosity instead of a state of certainty. on this wonderful Monday morning. We have the opportunity to determine if we've missed the mark, how we get back on it, and what are we going to do about it. Because you're going to have to hit that stumbling block, whether it be you or somebody else or a situation, you're going to have to hit it head on. And it may take you addressing it a couple of times before it goes away. I learned that this weekend. It may take a couple of times for you to address it. Some things may be very easy. You address it and it goes away. And then other times it's not that easy. It's there to stay for a little while. But you got to be committed to the thing, first of all. You got to be committed that my destiny's not changing. I'm getting there regardless. Period. You got to be grounded in your truth. You got to line it up to your reasonings of truth. You got to line it up to, is it where I want to be, what I want to do, and where I want to go? And when you start to define those things for yourself, then it gets a little easier. I promise, but you still have got to do the work. There's no way around that, y'all, at all. There's no way around it. So on this wonderful Monday morning, think about what are you focusing on, and then master your mind over that lack or I don't have. When you focus on mastering your mind, perception, and perspective, you discover other paths in the landscape of your possibilities. Meaning when you focus on what is possible, you see other ways to it. When you focus on what you can't have, what is not possible, what you can't do, then sister, that's all you will ever see. It will never change. You will never leave that relationship. You will never leave that friendship. That you will never leave whatever it is because you assume that's the only thing and that's the only way. And that's how you end up 30 years in a marriage that you hate, 10 years in a friendship that you hate, at a job you hate, living somewhere you don't like, doing the things that you don't like. And just know the speed of change depends on how much you live in a state of curiosity. Like, what if? What if this? What if I really did, if I'm doing the same amount of work to have less than? What if I did the same amount of work to have more than? And we don't do it simply because we haven't learned to trust ourselves, number one. And we don't do it, number two, because we're afraid that we will get exactly what we are asking for. That's why we don't do it. Because we're afraid we'll get exactly what we're asking for. Oh, you want more blessings? Okay. Great day, Miss Joe. Have a great week. Miss Joe, I've been thinking about you. And she doesn't know what I'm about to say. So y'all know I met Miss Joe for like 20 minutes. 45 minutes total over a 2-day period. But she said something to me that just stuck with me. And it's one of the reasons why I talked about at the beginning of the year, January 1st, we talked about getting better. And that we have, at some point, you've got to stop telling the sad story. Because if I'm the only live past crazy specialist, I've told you how I lived in it. Now we've got to start the healing process to get past it, because there is life after crazy. And so now we're on this healing journey. And Miss Joe said to me, she was like, sometimes we women, we get together and we tell sad stories and we stay sad together. And I am so paraphrasing what she said. And she's like, why do we always have to tell a sad story? Maybe everybody doesn't relate to your sad story. And it made me think, yes, I'm the only live past crazy specialist. And so now I have told you how I lived in crazy. And if you have questions about that, please go check out the books on Amazon. Go to livepastcrazy.com. Go to the YouTube channel. There's over 300 videos over there. And you can go to the Fearless Morning Show page, the Be Fearless page, my page, and learn all about why I am the only live past crazy specialist. But now we're in the healing part of it. We are walking past that part. And so we're talking more about how do you get past the crazy, what that looks like, and what steps you really have to take. So thank you, Miss Joe. It's the small things that people say in passing that they don't know that has an impact on other people. So I hope you have an amazing day, guys. Please don't forget to share the show. If your friends and family do not have Facebook, make sure you send them over to the YouTube channel. Don't forget, we do have Live Past Crazy jewelry. If you go to bit.ly/KK Creations, you can see the bracelets over there. And don't forget, we do have the Sister Keepers Book Club. So if you want to join, it's bit.ly Sisters Keepers Book Club. And sign up for that. You will get your book included in your membership with that. So I hope this has helped somebody today, guys. Let me go over the quote of the day. When you focus on mastering your mind, perception, and perspective, you discover different paths in the landscape of your possibilities. And the speed of change depends on how much you live in a state of curiosity instead of a state of certainty. And that's by Dr. Maria Reynolds, PhD. So, guys, I hope you have an amazing day. The thought for the day was not only mastering your mind, but realizing why are you living off target, and what are you going to do about that? What are you going to do about living off target? And one of the first things you got to do is definitely stop lying to yourself about how you got there, because sometimes we didn't get there on our own. That's very true. That's very, very true. But then we have to take responsibility on why we stay there. That's the important thing. All right, guys, I hope you have an amazing day. I will see you here bright and early tomorrow morning. Please be safe out there. Please be peaceful, period. Instagram, thank you for hanging out with us this morning. We hope you have an amazing day. Guys, please make sure you share the show, because sharing is caring. And I will see you guys here bright and early tomorrow morning. Have a good one.
Thank you again for listening to the Live Past Crazy Show with Yonmitra JoJo. She is the only Live Past Crazy specialist, and she is glad you spent your time with her. If you would like to know more about why she knows crazy and about her journey, she invites you to check out her website, www.livepastcrazy.com, as well as follow her on social media. Yonmitra is her tag for IG, Twitter, and Facebook, JANMETRA. She also invites you to join her on the Fearless Morning Show, weekdays at 7:15 a.m. on Facebook Live. Again, you can find us on Facebook with the Fearless Morning Show page, or by name. Remember, as a result of working with the only Live Past Crazy specialists, individuals are able to identify the crazy in their lives and develop a specific blueprint to begin to live past crazy. Do you know anybody who needs to live past crazy? Then send them over her way, because there is life after crazy. Be peaceful, period. And Yonmitra will see you guys on the next show.